Hey everybody, DayTraderRockStar here with the high probability watch list for the week of, drum roll please, September 23rd. September 23rd. Now, I am starting this a little bit earlier, so this might go out in two parts. If I actually find some really good setups, I'm going to send it out Thursday night for Friday so you have a head start on it. If not, the rest of it will go out on Friday for the next week. Remember, this watch list is for next week, but as I go through it, I might actually see some setups that will be good for next week. I mean for tomorrow, and if it is, I'll probably want to get this out just as a raw video so you could take a look at it. Alright, so I'm in the process of doing that now, and I'm just going to go through things. I'm going to pause it, record if I see anything good. First stock I'm looking at here on this is Visa. Now I've been long Visa with the October calls. You know, we got into when the market pulled back. Well, let's just go back here and actually, I'm going to go back here and take a look at the, daily chart here. And I'm also going to show you the 60-minute 60-minute chart here, because you can't see much with the daily with all these boxes and stuff. But the 60-minute time frame I was actually going over today during the show, and I was showing really the rotation on how these stochastics here rotate down. This is the 14.3 rotation. I'm using that as a little bit more standard. It gives us a cleaner look. The 9.3, which is up here, works also. Sometimes it's a little quicker, but it typically, if they're both moving down, that's usually very close. They're very close in time frames. So as you can see, the rotation down, and I kind of spent some time on the show discussing this, because I got a lot of questions about looking at certain stocks, and when we could look back at how a certain index, or that if someone's asking me, what do you think about the markets, or what about the stock, sometimes I'll look at the different time frames, and it's obvious to see, especially here, we're looking at the S&P 500, that the last eight times that we've really gotten overbought and we started rolling over, the market here kind of went with that. It was a situation where you see the momentum shift and it moves back down. You get oversold and the momentum maybe pushes back up. And it's not the most pretty move. Sometimes you'll get bigger, more aggressive moves. Sometimes you get chops. Sometimes you get gaps. When you get oversold, the next thing you know, the next day you're gapping up. But the general direction is true. So we came into, at the end of the day here, talking about stochastics here now being into an overbought level and possibly rotating back down. Now, that started happening. Did definitely started happening, started rolling down. We have an underlying trend line that could come into play tomorrow, Friday. And it's probably a good bet that we probably find ourselves oversold tomorrow at one point on a pullback. So I would expect a little pullback to get this down. If it does move higher, then we have a breakout. We have a double top here. As you can see, the double top on the 60-minute time frame. That brings us, around that 3020 level. 3020 level on the S&P cash. That is a pretty decent breakout. So we're going to be watching that level, give or take a couple points. Now again, if we get a fast move down and we hold that trend line and we start to see we're going to test that 3020 level, we could actually have a nice breakout. We take a bigger picture here. Remember, we just came out of this consolidation. And then popped up. If we do pull back, the gap back here, I have it marked off here, but the gap back here is about 2940-ish. And again, give or take a point or two. So that could be a retracement to close that gap, which hasn't been closed yet. If we could take a look at the daily, I'm going to have to get rid of I want to get rid of these. But this is something that, just remember, this is what I want to look for. So what I'm going to do is I want to clean up this chart. Show drawings on the chart, manage drawings on the chart, delete drawings on the chart. All right, we're just going to delete them. All are based on S&P. All drawings for. All right, so we're just going to do that right there. Boom. Boom. All right, so now it's nice and clean. And we're going to go to the daily. And now we can see the daily. You can see what we're looking here, the double top right there. Plus there's the highs back over here. Taking out these two highs, definitely probably brings us to new highs, and maybe new highs really breaks us out and we have a tremendous market rally. Markets on the daily are embedded here, which is typically bullish. You know, when you get embedded up here and it just chops around, you could continue to grind higher. And we're holding that 20 period moving average really well. Came down once, spiked. That was a Fed day yesterday. Again, we do have a little gap back here that probably needs to be filled at one point in that 2940 area. So that's our downside area. Am I more scared of going higher without filling that gap? No. But we're going to play it, but we're going to just watch this. We're going to watch this gap. It's going to be a Friday tomorrow. And we'll just have to see. You just remember there are certain levels here that we will pay attention to if we actually get down to. If there's no reason really to get a flush in this market, yet we find ourselves closing that gap, I would definitely want to use that as support in an area to watch for a trade bounce. If we just continue to push higher, well, you got to go with the flow. You got to go with that. You got to take advantage of when the market is really strong. All right, so now we're going to take a look at some other stocks here. So I was looking at Visa as my first one, and again, we're oversold on the daily, and the 60 again is kind of pulling back. In the same situation, here you have a 60 rotation. It finally rotated all the way down, and then finally got oversold, and we rotated up, got overbought, now we're starting to rotate back, but we're seeming to be holding in the upper half of that recent, bounce. And this is up in the air too. So what I'm looking at on this is really the 2-day consolidation. Today we didn't get through it. We're kind of stuck under the 20 period moving average. We haven't rotated yet. We want to buy on strength. I'm not aggressively telling you to go out, but there is a slight trend line here to pay attention to, right here, going out from the 12th, and you can just follow that 200 period moving average on this. You can see, or that 50. You can see how that's holding us back. We pushed it. So once we get through that level, probably get a little momentum on this. It's still a great stock. The reason we like these stocks are these stocks are very strong. Visa's always been a strong one, and MasterCard's always been a strong one too. So both of those have very similar patterns. They're holding the 2050. They got the first pullback, and we're seeing if we actually get a move back up on these. Nothing I am dying to get into, nothing, but I do hold a little October on this. All right, take a look at waste management. This is one of the ones we liked on the pullback. I'm calling this a 1, 2, 3 pattern. Got in it on the pullback here, just because we were oversold. We entered that oversold level right here, so that's the candle we got on. It chopped around a couple days, now starting to work out really nice. Do we have some more upside, or we get up to the top trend line and then pattern out and head back down? We have some good momentum here. This is always a quality name. I'd like to be able to trade this as more just like back here. You get an opportunity, and the next thing you know, it's off to the races again. Will this end up being another fantastic entry for this? I feel like it will. Before you know it, it'll be back over 120. But currently in this, and October 115s, we picked up at about $1.50. They're trading at $2 right now. So another good percentage gain so far on this. And I'd like to see some more upside on this tomorrow and into next week. It's just one of those great setups, and the momentum here is shifted here pretty good. It's not a Nike check mark back here like we had here, and here, very strong. This is more of a smoother bottom, but it's still a very good steep turn back up, and it looks fine on this. Looks fine. Remember, we're working on HPS setup, so even the American Tower, which had a nice bounce today, and it still looks like there is some momentum. I really want to concentrate on buying into that weakness as something setting up good, so we could get this whole run. Even though AMT is a strong stock, it might have some follow through tomorrow. I do feel like it's we already gave up 7 points on this. If we start chasing this, at least 7 points, and we took it here, the 60-minute time frame is extended. So again, a pullback would probably be better before just jumping in on this. But again, this is we're looking for HPS setups, things that fall into the HPS criteria, the divergence setups, the recognizable patterns. The HPS setups would fall into the category of our playbook trades. So a coiled stochastic setup, a lower trend line bounce, stochastic rotation, a divergence back here, reversal candles and stuff. This is a little outside of that. It's already popped. And so we're going to continue to look here. Now Roku has an X marks the spot level down here. I'm not too much concerned about this gap back at 103. I think the X marks the spot, which is a 1, 2, 3 channel. And then we start breaking back down, and we come to the rising trend line and the lower trend line, and that gives us that X marks the spot, which is about 115. That's about 15 points lower. Now we got a bounce today. We took this into weakness. What's going on here? Let me see. Oh, interesting. It just dropped. Hold on a second. You can see Roku has some interest here. It's actually holding up after hours. The daily, this is something I also feel is going to go higher. I'll probably look at this one again. If we do get closer down to this 150 eventually, I want to add this to the HPS as a buy trigger at 150, right in that 115, 116 level. That 116 and 117 level was a gap support. Gap resistance and gap support, meaning if we have a gap, lots of times you come back down to that gap area and we bounce off of it. If we gap down and there's a gap above us and the price comes up to that gap, that's gap resistance. Here's the gap support coming down to the gap, and we hold on to that. So if we do get close to that 117, we're going to have a bunch of things lined up. We'll have that channel trade, we'll have the rise in trend line, and we'll have the gap support there. And plus, who knows what else. The stochastics are already oversold. The weeklies kind of rolled over, but like I said, I think this is going back higher, so we have to just get our best position on that. I ended up taking the trades off today, so if we do get back into it, it'll be early tomorrow morning. Maybe after it pulls back a bit. Out of the gate today, we had Baba, and again, one of our members, great call. One of our members noticed that we were breaking through 180. He said, finally breaking through 180. So when someone says finally breaking through 180, that means it's been pushing up against 180 multiple times. So it caught my attention fast. Once I saw that the strength was there, we called a breakout play and a target of 184 on this. And that thing took off. It took off, and where did it go? 184.07. And then it sold all the way back off. So amazing how that ran, and we had hit our target. Now, why did I call 104? It was a whole number. I look for average true range on some of these stocks. These are the average range that these things look at. And so I wasn't looking for a huge 10-point move, and I figured 4 would be good. I just happened to be lucky on calling it spot on. That's just, looking at a whole number and its average true range. Here's plan. Plan is interesting because we talk about X marks the spots, and this is exactly what we like on an X marks the spot. Lower trend line. There's a couple of times that this plan, basically pivot area down here, pivot area here, trend line, move it up. We hit it here, but there was also, I don't know if there was a downward trend line here. I think there was. If we adjust this a bit and look at it just like this, it was kind of an X marks the spot. And you get down to the X marks the spot, lower trend line, you usually get a move up. Here you had a pull back, trend line, pull back, move up. Here we have a big trend line, big 1, 2, 3 pattern. Software companies got hit over the last few weeks, so they brought them all down, but we came down to the lower trend line, big reversal candle one day, and then a follow through and a nice bounce up to the 20-period moving average. Love to get a little further move. Whenever you have a large candle like this, that candle tends to act as resistance also, and usually you can see it was a level up here. We pulled back and we bounced and we chopped around, so there is a little resistance right above us at 52 and change, and I think that's a good target on that short-term target. Do we eventually move higher? Yeah, but I think it's a better chance to get this full rotation. This is a very bullish rotation too. Software sector is tricky. If it comes out with news, it affects the whole sector. We had a divergence set up here also, a dual divergence signal. So had a lot of things going for it. That's why we're in it. We're taking profits as it moves up, and that's it on that one. But not looking to add. I wouldn't say add here. Got to show Twila just as an educational stock here. This is a classic 200 EMA breakdown channel line bounce. It means if you have an established 1, 2, 3 channel, good width between the channel, a 200 period moving average running through it. Once you start to see that price come through that 200, you have to have this set up as a channel setup. But once you get that set up, this is a very strong buy zone when you come down to the lower trend line. Now, it took a few days, but now starting to move back up. The trade is actually a bounce from the lower trend line back up to the 200 period moving average. That's how that trade works. So basically, it's about a 10-point trade from here to there. It chopped around a bit, but now catching its mojo and pushing higher. Just a good example of that, just to look at. See what happens here. All right, so here's your let's see. All right, here was the Eli Lilly. Let me move this over here so we could show it to you. That's a current setup. It hit its target today. So I'm going to just click on that. All right, here's your Eli Lilly setup. And again, like I said, it's already completed. This was a good divergence setup, a low, a lower low, a higher low. It was a mid-pattern divergence. It wasn't on the bottom of a pattern, which we had back here, a low and a lower low and a nice move up with a higher low and a stochastic. Remember, I shade out that purple area on the HPS thing so you get a good idea where the 80-20 line is. And you want to have the first low underneath it, the second low above it. In this case, you can see this first low is above it and the second low is above it. So this is what I call a mid-rotation divergence, or, I try to classify these under my own terminology just so you start to catch on. But it is a divergence, but it doesn't have that classic look where your first low is underneath that 80. And this is actually a stronger divergence. And as you can see, boom, it worked out perfect. And it hit its target today. So that's something that I always look for. All right, here we have LABU. Again, we always refer back to this one. I like trading it when it sets up properly. Had a close stochastic last time we were in it. Popped. It's chopped around here. Now it's consolidated between the 20 and 50. We call this a 20-50 squeeze. And it's... it's just, it is what it is right now. It's not breaking out of this flag. It's kind of extended. But it's a 3 times bullish biotech. So it tracks the IBB. And it gives you 3 times the return or the loss that the IBB, the biotech ETF does. Now, look at the 60-minute time frame. Because something like this, it gives such a good return. It has such a good action in it is something you want to measure out with the stochastic. So again, I like to do that. So let's just do that together here. So you had an oversold level there. You had an oversold level. Actually, there was a divergence here. There was a nice this was a 60-minute time frame, and that's what I'm talking about. Here's your 60-minute divergence. A nice pop up here. That went from like 34 to 38. So, the ideal trade on this is a pullback, a divergence, and a 2 to 4 day hold for an average of 34 to 30. I would say about 2 to 4 points. 2 to 4 points. Be realistic on this. Here's a nice downward channel. There wasn't really a divergence, but it had a nice reversal candle, and it took off. And now it's been just chopping around sideways. Stochastics are not set up. The last time we got oversold here was there, and we did get a little pop. And then before that, not really too much going on there, and back here we did. So we could see a little pop, little pop, little pop, big pop, little pop, and drag. Something to watch. Again, if you're interested in the LABU, might as well wait for the setup to come to you and let that stochastic rotation come. And even if you miss it and it moves up here and it has some aggressive, it could be a stock that's in the index that gets some good news. This thing just powers forward. We'll have to be on top of that if it happens. This is also a good trending stock when it does start to trend higher. Right now you can tell that this is the hourly. It has been trending down. So we had the downward trend and it popped. Now another downward trend, a little pop. Something I'm watching, I'm currently watching, but it's not on the list. All right, here's a couple new positions I started this week. So going into next week, I was definitely going to think about putting this one on here. But because of the failure of the divergence to make a full rotation, we kind of pulled back. You know, I'm a little bit more concerned on this. This was a decent divergence at this point, and now we've kind of pulled back. I mean, we really need to correct back up here on the stochastics for me to stay in this. We had a good 72.17 fake out breakout where we broke out, but then reversed, chopped around, and came down, divergence, and popped, but then came back down the last couple days. I mean, we definitely have to see something better on this. Las Vegas Sands, it's not Las Vegas, LYV, Live Nation. I have the October 72.50s, and they're at, you know, they're actually, should have a couple of those. Picked up $1 to trade around 40 cents. So they're cut in half because of that failure to get that follow through. But they're definitely not out of the woods yet on this. There's a lower trend line. I want to watch this the next couple of days, but I would not, as of right now, I'm not going to put it on the watch list. I'm not going to put it on the watch list. That's an update on my position, because at that point it did have a nice little divergence there, and it did move up off of that, but then quickly rotated back down. Here's a deep throat play. He called me a couple times on that. I decided to get in today. It ran and then pulled back. Got in this morning. It ran up and we're doing well. And then it kind of just slowly pushed back. I'm not seeing anything too great in it. He said, you know, he's looking for a move up above 50 on this quickly. It's pushing up against the 20. I don't know what the catalyst will be. The stochastics are actually okay for me. So I said, all right, you know what? Instead of continuing to hear him call me and ask me about it, I'll get in a little. So I did get into some calls on this, and we'll watch it from here. But personally, I'm not seeing an HPS setup here. But if it gets a move, it gets a move. The other one, and then again, Danu passed me on some divergences he found, and this was another one, the Live Nation, this one also. You can see that lower low, the higher low, and this one actually acting better. No position in it, but it is a current divergence. And the other one here looks like Sienna. I had that down. That was a decent enough trend line, double bottom divergence, higher low here. But you know, the market's been choppy here. It's nothing too aggressive. We had a pop up here against a 50. Hey, one thing looking back at this, we have to understand. You get a little gain. You have to remember, you know, this market here is not ripping away here. You might get a nice move from here to here, and that's all it's going to give you. And that might give you a nice profit, and you're expecting more. But the market's not willing to give you that, and you have to figure out how to step up and take it off without giving it back. You know, we're going to definitely give you the setups that give you a better chance of getting that move in the direction of the setup. But after that move comes, you have to be quick on the trigger. So I start that video back up here just to go over two others. DPZ, downward wedge pattern, breakout. I was just discussing this on the air aftermarket here. PZZA, the other one, divergence, and that was a hidden divergence, my type of hidden divergence. Some people have a class, you know, call a hidden divergence something different. I like calling a hidden divergence when you get that move down, but you don't see that bend in the stochastics where we make that lower low. It just continues to push higher. So you're not seeing that typical divergence, but that's a great sign, downward channel. And from that move on, we got a huge move out of that. And again, the other one I just mentioned was the Domino's Pizza, which was a coiled stochastic setup. And we got a beautiful pop on that. We took profits. So both of these worked out great. Now I'm just, again, hunting for the next setup. Hunting. I want to mention the 3M. This was the kick-ass trade of the week. And it's a slow mover, but it still is looking okay. We talked about buying into the pullback flag here. It started moving today, started actually acting really well. It's a slow mover. This was from yesterday's close. It popped up, and then we kind of grinded higher. Now we kind of a little retracement. The 60-minute time frame is, well, here's the chart. You can see it popped up here now, kind of rotating. This was actually a 60-minute divergence, dual divergence. Even though you're not seeing it, there was the divergence there. There was a divergence back here, which was great. So tomorrow will be key on this. You know, do we get a nice rotation back here, like we did back here, and then we push higher? Do we get a little rotation, push higher? Whenever we're pulling back, like I kind of described earlier on the charts, putting those square boxes in here, there is some downside here that has to, you know. So, you know, we get a little further pullback. It's still like this a lot. Here's the daily on this. And again, you can see that we're holding that flag. This has not, it's not confused the situation here. I'm just going to look at this. Yeah, that's the daily. And the 60 are kind of pushing down. So I would actually think that this might even pull back a little bit. If we buck the trend and, you know, go against what seems the obvious move, then that's telling you something. That becomes a major signal in itself. So if this actually does cross back up, whenever we get a little pullback and it crosses back up, that's very strong. The same thing as when we have a divergence and crosses back down, then we look at that weakness coming back in. It will sometimes turn into a running divergence. So it's not, you know, get a cross back up, going to be very, very aggressive and very bullish on this and add to it. If this continues to push back down, I want to wait until that rotation comes down at least to the 60. See where that stock is at that point. Looking at Funko here for a second, and my arch nemesis, can't stand those little bobblehead toys or whatever they have. This thing had a parabolic move when it got some hype behind it. It moved all the way up to 30 and change. It pulled all the way back down to 11 and then moved all the way back up close to 12. And now we have an island top. I talked about this the other day. This is something I would try to fight with again. You know, take a short here, longer term short, and look for a breakdown and see what we could get out of it. You know, I always think that the holiday season, these stocks tend to do pretty good, but I don't know. I'm not. You can see here from October to going into December and January, this thing actually came down. I like this as a short. I like the topping pattern. This is a big down day today. The stochastics are very negative. Everything here points to some more downside. So I'm going to keep that on my list for tomorrow to look at. So I'll finish up. This is the first part of the video. It's Thursday evening. Nothing outstanding to talk about, so I'm not going to send it out. I want to complete it tomorrow and send it out tomorrow for the next week, an HPS video. So that's why we're going to break this down. So the next time you hear me, that'll be the second part on Friday, and we'll be discussing more stocks. All right, I'm back here with you. It is a Friday morning. Markets are open. We've been trading here. I had to finish up the watch list video. I wanted to get some of the some time passed, so it's about 11 o'clock and just catching up. Now, the one thing I will say is I've been adding to my positions in 3M today, and I like this. Remember, I think I was talking about this yesterday. I was talking about today. You know, normally we'll look for that rotation, but if we get a cross back up, that tends to be a stronger move. And pending, and then if this crosses back down, then it's a failure. But this right here, what's happening right now on 3M is pretty bullish right now. So I saw that, and also there's some pretty decent option activity going out to January 185 strike price. Let me see if I could show that on the screen here. Let's see if I could go out. January, September, October. Let me go out to the puts, the calls here only. This is a different way of looking at it, my platform. You can see it nice on a regular platform set up for it. We'll go out. Got a long ways here. All right, so here we have January's. All right, here we are. 118 days remaining. So it is going out here pretty far. Well, where is my January's? Is it the January's? I have on my platform here the January 185s, 2000. Oh, maybe I don't have the 185s up. That's what it is. Let me, yeah, that's what the problem is. Sorry about that. I'm like, I don't see it. There we go. Let's scroll down now to January again. Sorry about the delay. I should have that all set up. So here we have 185s. Big volume on this. 2100 on the volume. 2,100 contracts. So you know that's interesting on this. You know, going out this money, you don't get that much activity on this, but I'm seeing the activity picking up here a lot. So I added to my position. I'm liking I'm liking that crossover. I like a lot of things about this. It maintains to be the kick-ass trade. I wanted to see a bigger move, and I'm saying the day's not over. So the 5-minute chart here, we kind of popped and dropped, and now starting to grind back up higher. 168, we get through 168. That 169 definitely going to be in play. But we had to get through this level. There's actually a nice downward trend line, and it is a Friday, so we might not see this. But I do like what I'm seeing right now. So if we can get through this trend line, take out the highs, we'll be moving along pretty good. So we'll watch it. I'll update it if I see anything there. Waste management still looking pretty good. Well, we took off the plan. We took off a lot of the plan today. Still have a little plan. We had a beautiful pop, pre-market pop. We set our trades. We got organized this morning. We set our trades to get out. I put some wish orders in. We got out at the highs. Since then, made sure everyone got out okay. Hopefully you got out okay. It's been drifting down. We made a nice bundle on that. I still am holding some plan, but the majority of the trade is done on that pop here. Because we were buying into this on the pullback, and we kind of pushed right up against that channel line. I didn't even, this could even probably be a little bit more parallel. This probably came right down to the trend line there. So this was a great exit, even though this is still bullish, and I do expect this over time to get back above 60 and head to, just like all these other software application stocks, looking pretty good. MDT continues to grind higher. I had a friend over that I managed some of his stuff for him, and I have him in MDT, and I said, well, you have such a good profit on it. He's up like 13% on it. And but then I decided to keep. I said, you know what? There's no reason to get out. This thing is the future of health and stuff. Stocks like this, medical devices. I mean, they're good. I love getting out on strength, but there's no reason on this one. And got them in the EXEL today, which had some follow through. We are starting to move back up. It did pop and then kind of pulled back here. So popped early, pulled back. It's amazing. Let me show you something here. I told him last night to put an order in. I put an order in because he works.
Tradeometer ES oversold.
So I said, I'll help you set up the order. So we set up an order for him to buy it, at the open. And it could be a little dangerous because we don't know if there's going to be news. You don't need this thing popping 20 points and buying at the top or anything like that. But I did tell him to put an order in. Let's not get, I wanted to get him in it. So so this is his order right here. That's how you get screwed. At first order, if you have a market order in, they'll, they took him right here. His first trade was 8/19/89. That was his candle right there. And I bet you it's for 300 or something shares. Because that's what I told him to get into about, just to get him into that. Yeah, that was 100, yeah. So that's interesting. Then we continue to run, and now it's pulled back. But just be careful when you do take those entries. I got in early just to make sure the news was right for him. I didn't want him to get caught into anything. But I'm glad that he's in it. It doesn't really matter if it's 1950 or 1940 or 1970. This hopefully these prices will be long gone soon. All right, so let's continue on. So waste management, MDT, continue to hold. The waste management, you continue to hold. Roku got hit today, and I did mention that I was thinking of getting in on the pullback to the trend line, and guess what? We're right on that trend line right now. It's a 116.37. 116.37 right here. This was the area that I liked. Even down to 113. So 113 to 116. But I'm holding off. I am holding off. All right, we're back here with you, and I'm continuing with that. I'm watching the Rockbot right now. I don't have it on the screen over here. I can't show it to you, but it is crushing it right now. It is just locked in 26 ticks. That's all the contracts added up. So as we're trading here on, and I'm doing my research and stuff, we are getting that move in 3M. Now, I've been talking to a lot of traders today, and I noticed that with the week like it's been the last 2 weeks of the volume in the market, let's take a look at the SPX fast. See how we're just chopping around here? It's very hard for the option trade to get things going if your stock is not moving. You start to get that time decay. So in this case, we have to consider that and understand that. Sometimes we'll be in a position. It doesn't help for the market not moving or the individual stock that you have options and not moving. It just, so you have to give yourself enough time. You have a really good setup, yet it doesn't move. It doesn't do us any good. So we have to have it move, and if it doesn't move, we have to give ourselves more time on that. So consider that. Consider that. Sometimes I get in with a short-term option play that's out about a month or less than a month, weeklies and stuff. That they're a little bit more risky. Setups are great for longer term, but you have to pay up for those. So in some cases, I'll go out to January, which I did on the Boeing, and that way I'm not as stressed for not on the Boeing, but we did do good on that Boeing. On the 3M here, feeling like we have a good shot of getting out of this flag. This is going to turn back up. Everything. The 60-minute time frame was also that crossover. Remember I said that crossover, so we have to pay attention to when we want to be in it. A lot of things to pay attention to, and this is something I don't talk about that much, is that rotation down. But if we see a rotation, we suspect that this is not going to be a full rotation, that we're going to actually pull back a little and then bounce, then we might start to look for the rotation back up and not a full rotation down. And when we see that full rotation up, that's extremely bullish. So we have to strike when that is happening, like here, here. You can see these levels. Usually it doesn't happen. So if it does happen, it's an easy signal to see. So that's what we're actually seeing right now. Volume is picking up on this. It's actually picking up a little here. Volume on the day is actually quite good too. Big volume on the day. Nice. This thing's starting to take off now. New highs on the day on 3M is kick-ass trade of the week. And again, from the newer traders out there, you hear, we might have some people coming in on the show recommending things. I might get in things. I ran across that problem in Lyft this week. Lyft, Deep Throat, recommended Lyft. I said, all right, I want to try it. So I got into some, and it's not working out. And I took it off. And, again, it's not working. You have to give these things some time. So I'm out of the Lyft anyway. I just want to update you on that. The MDT. Do we have any left of that? Yeah, we do have a little left here. So continue to hold on to that. But the 3M here looking really, really, really nice now. And I'm very happy about that. So we added that position today, and that's going forward. I do like that a lot. The EXEL hanging in there. Amazon getting a bounce. Plan, we did the right thing on that. And let me do a couple scans here. It's not much yet. Again, I have 0 on my divergences, on engulfing. It's another one of those days. S&P futures just up about 4. All right, 3M here, continue to push higher. That looks great. 3-minute, 5-minute here. Look at that thing start to move here. Volume is picking up. Everything looking good. Okay, waste management. Again, looking for some new setups for you this week. There's not many going into next week. That's when this happened. The waste management still looks pretty good. And even though we are pushing up against that trend line, and the move down would bring us, back down to the 200. But I don't think that's actually going to happen. But that is still a very organized trade. Very organized. I did go short Funko today. FNKO. And, let me see. Why didn't that go up here? Funko. Here we are. And this was based off of an island reversal top. It's usually made out of 1 to 3 candles. It looks just like this. It gaps up, leaves a nice gap. Either then gaps down, or a series of trades up there, and then it gaps down, and then it continues. This is a good topping pattern. This was a divergence over here. There's only a couple certain signals I like. That divergence, of course, really played a nice part there. It did continue to move up. Now we had the Funko Island reversal. So I went out pretty far. Well, I went out to November, I believe, right, on that Funko? Yeah, November, 22.5 puts. And, seeing if we could get a breakdown down to $20 before then, or at least back down to the 200. What happened last time, September, October? Well, it dropped pretty hard. Maybe we come back to that at 15.60. That's my overall goal, is to get this thing down to underneath 20. Say in the high teens, mid to high teens, 16, 17 area would be a good target on this. If we could get down there fast. I mean, we might need some news on that to drop that. But, and again, it's a limited risk. One more look at the 3M. This is the weekly chart. Everything about this looks good. Even the weekly divergence was there for us. So there's so many interesting things. I mean, the bad news, of course, could crush this market, crush a lot of these stocks. But right now, you can see how this held the lower trend line. Bang, bang, bang. Capitulated through it, came back up, back down under it, divergence back up, held it. I could see this. I could just definitely see this moving right back up into this big pattern. We have a lot of upside potential here. Stochastics are pretty aggressively steep, move up, and coming out of a divergence. This has to be one of the best setups I've seen in this stock in a long, long time. Very happy with it. So, looking good. Now, did we go over pins yet? Pinterest? I don't think so. Pinterest, P-I-N-S here. This is a recent IPO. It pulled back pretty good. It's kind of drifting here back up. I like the stochastic rotation is back up here. We kind of came down here, closed that gap. Just a lot of interesting things on, they're monetizing their platform, and it's not a real pure HPS in any way. I'm taking a shot in this one. So that's it. I just want to update you on that. It hasn't done much. It's not like an HPS weekly divergence like we're seeing in 3M, but that's the type of trades. If you're a newer trader out there and you want to, wait for those big, good, multiple indicator setups of divergence on the daily, weekly, 60. All right. Visa has not really moved It has a 3-day kind of consolidation, sorry. But it's not really moving too much today. It's one of those, definitely nice stocks that you tend to see move on some, this market. Good, just a good stock to buy on a pullback. Last real significant pullback, 2018. And that's it. So just keeping that one in check, not adding to it or anything. Shopify is dropping here a bit, and we're going to probably end up leaving it at that because, honestly, I'm not seeing too much out here today. Funko here short is working out pretty good. The Funko short looks good. The Live Nation does not look good. That was that divergence, and it is breaking down. I only have 2 contracts in them, and it has definitely crapped the bed there. So I'm going to just let it hang here. I don't think we, have to wait for a better setup. That was a divergence. It got a little pop, ran into a little resistance. That 1717 area would be, a good breakout zone down the road. As long as we can hold on to the big candle here, the 2 big candles. I wouldn't call this a tweezer bottom, but a very close and a decent. So we want to hold that candle low. And today it's not doing much. All right. So that's it. I have a short day today because I'm going to start heading upstate. But again, we put in a lot of different shows. We had a lot of after-hour shows. I did send out the tight stops option show to everyone. If you haven't gotten it, get back to me, and I'll get it to you for members. And I'll be posting that on the website over the weekend. But I did send out the link to everyone, so you should have that. It's in the trade alert box if you scroll back a bit. All right, so I have to split. I hope everyone has a great weekend. I wanted to compress this, get this out for everyone, and catch up with you on Sunday night, Monday morning. Have a great weekend. I'll catch everyone in the markets.